This podcast contains adult themes, explicit language, and the kind of conversations your browser history would rather forget. Listener discretion is advised, and curiosity is highly encouraged.
Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. I could beatbox if you want.
We are your kindly sex detectives, ready to guide you through every "what the hell did I just watch" question you have.
Matt is a mental health practitioner with over 3 decades of self-appreciation under his belt.
And Bea is an accredited psychosexual therapist who's seen it all, heard it all, and at this point, the algorithm is afraid of her next search. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. Guess what we're talking about today? Fine, I'll tell you. Cuckolding. What is cuckolding?
Personally, big fan. I think it hits a lot of the points for me when it comes to different role plays, fantasy realms and layers and themes and stuff in porn. So I'm familiar with it. Typically, cuckolding is just sexual arousal from a partner having sex with someone else. It overlaps with consensual non-monogamy, voyeurism, exhibitionism, role play, erotic humiliation, but it is something that is consensual. So typically cuckolding involves the partner being aware that the other person is having sex, and the sexual arousal comes from either being able to watch or being able to listen. It's like live porn, but with your favorite person as the star. Did you get anything different?
No, but traditionally in a cis-het kind of dynamic, it's the term for a man whose wife was unfaithful. In the animal kingdom, it refers to a male who unwittingly invests their time and effort into offspring that aren't genetically theirs.
Oh my god, the etymology of the word cuckold comes from the cuckoo bird associated with laying eggs in other birds' nests.
Yes, there are different terms for the people who are involved.
Tell me more, Matthew.
Well, okay, I will. Fine. Gosh. For instance, the cuckold or the cuck can be, both cishet and also non-binary. It's the person who's being aroused by watching or even just knowing that their partner is with somebody else in a sexual way.
And then you've got the hot wife.
The hot wife or the cuck queen.
So I thought the hot wife was the woman who has sex with other people, usually with her partner's knowledge or encouragement. And the cuck queen is the female counterpart to the cuckold. So she's the woman aroused by male partners' sex with others. So the hot wife would be the person doing the thing, and the cuck queen would be the person watching someone do the thing, similar to a cuckold.
So my understanding of hot wifing is specifically around a male in a partnership or a marriage that allows or is aroused by their partner having sexual interactions with other people.
No, I think I know what you're going. So the hot wife is more about shared pleasure, and the cuck, there's a more of an element of humiliation in it. And then you've got the stag and the vixen, right? So that's more about pride and erotic excitement than humiliation. Man being the stag, the woman being a vixen. I couldn't find any queer-friendly terms for this.
The only term that I read was just cuck in a non-binary sense because it can be used for any sort of gender identity. Oh, we forgot the bull. This is something that also seems to be quite non-binary as well, which is the outside partner, the name that's given to the person who is doing the fucking...
I love that you're thrusting while you're saying it.
Yeah, I wish people could see.
I'm glad they can't.
Yeah, same.
I actually really like some of the reasons people get into cuckolding. I think it's a bit romantic. There's the practice of showing off one's partner sexually to others. So the overlap of exhibitionism and voyeurism.
Yeah, so voyeurism is definitely a big part of it in terms of a partner wanting to let other people see how hot their partner is or to experience how good they are.
And then there's compersion, which is the reason I think it's kind of cute.
We love compersion.
We love compersion.
Yeah, so compersion is the opposite of jealousy, essentially. It's seeing your partner experiencing pleasure, enjoyment, or having fun and having that sense of happiness for them, feeling good about it.
Meaning you get turned on when your partner is sexually or emotionally feeling pleasure. So, ice creams in the street might do it for you.
What?
When you get an ice cream, or your partner's eating an ice cream and it's like, wow, this is delicious.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm thinking wholesomely here. I love that we're trying to find wholesome things here, which it's just porn.
alternatively, it's watching your partner get dick down and taking massive loads from somebody else and thinking, I love that for them.
Or they're like, they've got someone else knuckle deep and you're watching them moan a little bit and you're like, man, I'm turned on. Look how happy you are. Which is, I'm sure, a very regular experience for most of us in our week to week.
Of course.
Happens to me like 4 times a day.
Okay, so another reason that people might be into it is because of the sense of humiliation that they might get from it. Maybe feeling inadequate, not having a sense of control, or even feeling less than the person who is pleasuring the partner.
Mm. And there's voyeuristic arousal, so watching a partner have sex, and then eroticized jealousy. So the opposite of compersion, when we're like joy at a partner's pleasure, eroticized jealousy is the exact opposite. Their pleasure brings you so much jealousy that you end up getting turned on thinking about it. So typically, like, people are doing it because either they want to watch their partner wants to be watched, they'd like to be humiliated, they'd like to feel pride about this person being so attractive on their arm, they want to know how many other people find that person attractive, they want to feel the fear of knowing that their partner could leave them for someone else because they're not good enough, and like really lean into the I'm not good enough in so many ways feeling and allow themselves to feel it, and then have their brain switch it into something that turns them on.
I think we also need to touch on the idea of reclaiming, which is something that comes from watching the partner with someone else, and that shame or jealousy or competitiveness that when they do get to fuck their partner afterwards, it's usually trying to prove themselves or trying to reconnect in a way that, reminds the partner that they are theirs, they're together, they're a couple.
Isn't that nice though? Like,
It is
even
nice.
I think there's people who have been cheated on and get into cuckold porn afterwards, or cuckold partnerships afterwards, because, like you said, makes them feel like they can have some control over it. They can reclaim their place in it. And then the aftercare is particularly important, because that is where we come back together, where I let you know that you are valuable, that our relationship is safe, and that you are safe in it.
Yeah, and that also brings me back to something that I read about called the sperm competition theory. Did you hear about this?
I did, but I want you to tell me everything as someone with their own sperm.
So basically, the sperm competition theory comes from this belief that seeing your partner fucking someone else can actually trigger desire to have longer and more vigorous sex, which can also result in the partner with a penis having stronger orgasms and also producing more semen.
Does this have empirical evidence? Like, I couldn't find anything that proved that they would have more sperm as a result, but I didn't read that far in. I was kind of like, good for them, being so grumpy about it.
Maybe it's a theory more so than an actual fact.
Within the humiliation themes you're talking about, there's issues with masculinity that come across. So like the power dynamics and the values of masculinity, where they get to kind of let go of it for a little while and almost embrace the feeling of not being good enough. At least their version, like when you're talking about sperm competition theory, another leg of that is that men can typically compete with one another on a social level, a social sexual level. And when they are in this position where they get to kind of let go and be a cuck to a partner, they can go against the alpha masculinity roles. They essentially embrace the shame. So they invite their own shame and humiliation, because it's not about the partner shaming them or using humiliating language so much as it is them taking the role of watching somebody have sex with their partner, which is typically not something that they're supposed to enjoy or want to enjoy as a traditional heterosexual male.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so interesting too, the way that this language gets translated in the real world, especially amongst cishet alpha male type. There's another podcast that the female porn star and her husband, they interview other female porn stars. At the end of the podcast, they'll film a scene with the female talent People watch that and be like, oh my God, that's so hot. He's getting to fuck these girls. She then started having sex with other male performers. And the same people who would traditionally listen to this kind of podcast were then being like, oh, he's such a cuck because he lets his wife go and have sex with these other men and things like that. And it's so interesting how that dynamic changes when it comes down to like that ownership and property type dynamic when it's male and female.
Yeah, women are typically villainized when it comes to sexuality. Cuckolding was a slur always directed at women historically because it was about a woman being unfaithful and not adhering to patriarchal, heterosexual narratives or social scripts. So it makes sense what you're describing. It's argued that cuckoldery invites a welcome release from the burdens of having to live out this alpha male role or to meet the social expectations it entails. It doesn't have a lot more information about it. I mean, we'll take it with a grain of salt. But it is something that's incredibly interesting when you think about the villainization of women that occurs in this cuckolding space, and also for men to be watching this, participating in it, finding it a turn on, wanting their wife to do those things in those heterosexual couples. That's considered an attack on masculinity, and those people are considered not properly masculine. Fascinating.
To call it weak when it takes so much strength and open communication and insight and self-awareness to be able to engage in this kind of fetish, kink, etc. is kind of contradictory.
Agreed. And it's such a cool concept. Like, you're there, you got your partner who you find super attractive, and you get to act out a role play of fantasies that only create more closeness and collaboration within your sexual relationship. How cute.
This is something that, I can speak to from my younger days. I have actually seen a partner engaging with another person sexually, and it is hot as fuck because it's like the person you find most attractive. It is like watching porn in first person view because you're in the room watching that person engage in activities. And if you have a solid relationship, and if you're somebody who's secure in themselves, in their self-concept, then it's something that you can find enjoyable and hot. But if you're somebody who is jealous or insecure or things like that, it's definitely something that would be a whole lot more difficult.
That's actually one of the things too, where it provides you a safe space to explore your emotional response. If you do get turned on by jealousy or you get turned on by humiliation, it is a space that allows you to explore that.
It makes sense that people will watch porn for that reason, because rather than actually acting it out in your real life where it might not be safe, or you're scared of judgment, or potentially it has the capacity to damage your relationship, you can live out those fantasies through someone else. It's kind of like dipping your toe into the water without actually having to dive in real life.
So the safe exploration of taboo. We talk about using sexual fantasies for that emotional exploration of jealousy and shame and pride, but there's also the place where it helps you explore something about yourself. In those moments, it allows you to do some self-reflection and exploration around who you wish you could be. So then going back to what you were saying about sperm competition theory, you've got the heightened arousal from conflict. So imagining a partner with a rival, you may never want to actually really be in that situation, but the imagination and the fantasy of it amplifies and triggers your distress, and then you're like, damn, this is a big load.
And then on top of that, if we want to talk about the domination and the humiliation aspect, there's those scenes where the cuck is forced to eat that load.
And also safe exploration of sexuality, like exploring bisexuality at a distance.
Yeah, for sure. In some scenarios, it might be consensual non-consent of being forced to suck the dick of the man who's fucking your partner or something like that. And for some people who are questioning their sexuality or maybe aren't comfortable with expressing or coming out, it can be sort of a way to meet the need that comes from having a different sexuality.
You're allowing yourself to indirectly interact with another man's penis. In heterosexual couples where there's a hot wife, specifically, or even selecting a partner for their female partner to enjoy. So they're obviously looking at the sexual attributes of another person, being like, what's up? Look at you. That's a nice dad bod you got there.
Why were you staring directly into my eyes when you said that?
I wasn't. I was looking just above your head so that we didn't have to make eye contact.
Well, I feel more comfortable now, so that's great.
You're welcome. Watching cuckolding porn is different from participating in cuckolding in real time with a real partner. Our main focus is going to be the pornography. We're not seeing as much research into it the same way we would with like step sibling porn, because it's not a concerning
It doesn't have a lot of negative implications on society, except if you're doing it without consent.
Take note. There's no legal issues associated with cuckolding as an act with a partner. The only time there's an issue is if you take videos or pictures non-consensually of that person and then record or share them. And obviously, if you do it illegally or like without consent to watch a partner have sex with someone else or watch anyone have sex with someone else, that's also illegal, just so we're clear. Like, that's some peep and Tom shit. So ask first and stay out of other people's windows.
Yep.
Matt's just like, I agree. I agree. That is why I typically leave my curtains open. Then the other thing is the voyeuristic partner pleasure without risk. So imagining what your partner would look like experiencing pleasure, but there's no relationship disruption. And because it's not actually happening, you don't have to have that real fear of this occurring in your relationship and the jealousy and the fear and the anxiety that would come after it.
And those are pretty significant feelings. So being able to experience that scenario without also having to experience those feelings is pretty positive for a lot of people.
So aside from the theme, which is the loss of power and control, eroticized jealousy, the fantasy of things that they'd never actually consent to, sexual fantasies can work as a place where people explore their own emotions. So the jealousy, shame, pride, voyeurism, in a controlled way. Porn becomes a way for them to experience a story rather than a blueprint for real sex that they're actually going to have. So it becomes a stress relief.
Yeah, and we all know that we watch porn for a good old release.
Is that why you watch it?
I mean, relief, yep.
I watch it for the articles. Matt, would you like to tell me how I could bring this up with a prospective partner who may not have known that this is a thing that I'm into, or I'm not sure if they're ready to take this journey with me? What can I do?
If you want to get your feet wet, but you're not 100% sure as to how to go about it, sometimes those third-party conversations can be a good way to jump in and just sort of say, hey, like, I found out that my friend is into this. What do you think about it?
I like it. It's good. Maybe even adding what I find hot about it. So we're emphasizing that there's not a lot of pressure around you asking. You're kind of allowing them to have a think about it. Maybe even explaining if the thing that they find attractive is compersion, watching their partner enjoy themselves, or exploring elements of their own humiliation.
I think it's important to have open conversation with your partner about it in a way that is non-judgmental, open to the possibility that it's something that they're not into as well.
And if they are, some of the things you might be able to do could be just doing dirty talk or storytelling. So recounting times that you've had an encounter with someone else, or even talking about a hypothetical encounter of the way that you wish you could watch someone or have them watch you, and treat it like dirty talk. Then you may do voyeuristic porn together. So that's where you both watch porn.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point, is just being able to talk about it and explore, like, what is it that turns you on about it? What is it that, worries you about it as well? Because we have to take both sides of the coin in that instance. From there, progress into watching porn together and talking about what parts of it you find hot, which parts of it you're not into. I guess it's kind of like an ongoing conversation.
This is big chat stuff. And if you're moving it into the real world, this is a thing you want to explore. Even if it doesn't go into the real world, even if you stay watching porn, have a chat about boundaries. What's on and off the table for both of you? What are your safe sex rules around it? How do you feel, each of you, about privacy recording devices? Do you have safe words? Do you have signal stops? And making sure that you're clear about the aftercare that you would like to provide and you would like to receive.
100%. And also to remember that boundaries aren't always going to stay the same. So while you might set boundaries in the beginning around something, if a boundary is broken, it's not the absolute end. It's something that you can navigate together and repair from and set a new boundary, or maybe even come up with new ways to ensure that that boundary stays where it is.
One other thing is, obviously, if we're moving this to a real world situation, and both of us are big advocates for this, condoms, testing.
Definitely,
safe
if it's something
sex.
that you're planning to do in real life, do it in a way that is safe for you and for everybody else. Using condoms, getting tested frequently, ensuring that you change condoms if you're changing between partners, things like that. Because we don't want no cross-contamination, guys.
Are you kidding me? You don't just pop another condom on top of the one you're already wearing?
You don't go from hole to hole. You've got to make sure there's a little gap between to put a different condom on.
This sounds like science, and we don't trust science.
That's not true here on this show. We 100% trust science.
We love science.
Especially when it comes to your sexual health, people.
Never double bag a condom. Always change condoms between holes and between partners.
Also, if this is something that you're taking into the real world, how do you go about it? Where do you go? How do you meet these people to involve in your relationship?
As someone who's never brought this into the real world, I cannot give you a list, but you could be that couple at the bar that goes, hey.
I think also take into consideration things like swingers clubs or groups of people who are into open relationships, which can develop into cuckolding as well.
Yeah, or you could hire a sex worker.
Yes, 100% big advocate for that too.
Yeah, if you feel like you don't want to have to deal with the social fuckery of going out and trying to find someone to do this with, you can always go online, bring someone to your home, and really have some boundaries set. And obviously that's a really transactional thing as well, so it can be a nice safe place to start if you want to take it offline. For anybody listening, considering cuckolding, there's no correlation with cuckolding and unhealthy relationship or disregard of your partner. So while people are like, this could lead to cheating, or this is unhealthy because we'd have to go and get another person or something like that, there's actually no research supporting that.
If anything, it's likely to improve people's communication skills, because you have to be completely open and honest with your partner about how you feel about things and navigate those big feelings together.
Oh, there's a really lovely quote from a hot wife. It is empowering, and it translates into other areas of our lives. It allows you to see yourself through a different lens, not least because it's one thing for your husband to say he finds you sexually attractive, that's what he's supposed to say, and another for a stranger to say it. It's flipping sexual stereotypes, those very specific ways in which society sets us up to view male and female sexuality. They're diminishing for women, and for men they can be toxic, the expectation that only masculinity is dominant. The notions of a real man are intimately connected with those of spousal fidelity, so it allows people to knock those social expectations on the head. So cuckolding fantasies are so common that they're starting to almost appear normalized. Not necessarily that your partner would cheat, but just the idea that someone else enjoying your partner or you getting to watch someone or walk in is more eroticized than humiliation causing these days, which is kind of cool.
I think it's good that we're challenging this idea that monogamy is the normal. We see such high divorce rates and high rates of cheating and infidelity. Why can't we be doing this in a way that's more healthy and positive?
And a lot of the time we've got people who in monogamous relationships reached a point of plateau where they're saying, oh, we're not really having the sex we like anymore, we're not really enjoying ourselves. That's not to say that you should go out and start cuckolding, but just that sometimes that sometimes requires a bit more honesty about what it is that you want and what it is that turns you on with your partner. And that might mean exploring cuckolding porn as opposed to participating actively in it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. It's kind of like harm minimization in a sense that rather than ending the relationship because you're finding the sex to be not as exciting or having an affair or cheating, you're being able to openly communicate that you want to do something differently and add some excitement to your life, your relationship.
And again, going back to that idea of you can explore this without necessarily taking it offline. You can have those conversations where you say, I want to try these things, or these are the fantasies I've got, how I imagine you being treated, how I imagine me being treated. We can role play this within the safety of our own relationship. But when we get to that point where we're not really having the sex we want to be having, it's important to look at both sides. What's stressing you out? What's making you feel disconnected? And then what are the needs you're not having met at the moment? Does that partner want to meet them, first of all? But also, how do we do this in a way that works for both people without power dynamics and coercion? Is cuckolding cheating?
It kind of feels like consensual cheating in a sense.
Well, if the people turn out to be conservative, traditional, heterosexual couples living out fantasies where a partner cheats and they're watching or they're finding out in a way that undermines their sense of masculinity to create shame, it's still consensual. I don't think it counts as cheating. I wouldn't call it cheating. That's a consensual role play. They've both agreed to participate in that. Do you think that cuckolding is representative of a type of polyamory? I suppose it depends on the context, because in some cases you're talking about two partners inviting a third.
You could already be in a relationship with multiple partners, and occasionally you like to play out a cuck dynamic and, have one partner sit in the corner like a bad little boy.
I never want to hear you say that to me again. Post-nut peer support.
Post-nut peer support.
Where we troll the comments looking for the community that happens after you nut. Tell me your comment of the week, Matthew. I'm so ready.
My comment from a video that I watched for research purposes only was from Waluigi for Smash, and it says, "She got fucked hard, but I got fucked harder. How the fuck did a potted plant get into Smash Ultimate and I didn't?"
The fuck? I've got, let's be honest. Do you have to choose a house like this with a pool and a beautiful woman? I live alone in a small apartment, and this is hard to fantasize to because I'd probably want to go swimming even if there was a threesome happening on the sidelines. The economic crisis reaches us all.
That's so funny. And that's a wrap on today's deep, weird dive into your browser history. Was it good for you? Let us know in the comments. Shout out to Frankie and the Woods family for your ongoing contributions. See you next time for your favourite family barbecue background chat show.